I can see you.
Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of There Will Be Dice and Tips, episode 92. That's kind of crazy to say. I'm Geoff.
I'm Ron.
And there's actually pretty good, of course, the week that we were behind on everything because Geoff got sick and had to delay everything a day because he's a dick. But there was actually a lot of news to comb through. I actually ended up having to cut out some stuff that ordinarily would have made it in, but as you saw from our topics, there's actually some good shit to talk about.
Yeah, there's even gaming.
All right. Starting off with the movie news, as usual. Entertainment Weekly released a shit ton of first look photos of Thor 3, which is called Thor Ragnarok. What were your initial reactions, Ron, to seeing all the pics?
My initial reaction of everything is how not different Jeff Goldblum looks.
Even with his there's a shit ton of neon. Like it actually looks like I've said this multiple times. It looks like an 80s John Carpenter movie in all of the best ways to me. Like I dig it.
We got a little bit of Gladiator. We got a little bit of Jeff Goldblum on his day off. We got they called it. I remember them calling this image like one of the first images of the Hulk, but it's really Bruce Banner. Kate Blanchett is like unrecognizable.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. The first time I saw that picture, I was like, "Who is that?" It's like, wait, holy shit, that's Kate Blanchett. Like it had to be.
It was spelled out for me before I realized it.
Yeah, it was the same way for me. Man, like, I just hope they finally learn from Thor 2. Like, please, I'm hoping since they were able to get Kate Blanchett, like, give her something to do. Yes. Because, like, Jesus Christ, did they waste Christopher Eccleston in the second movie?
Oh, I know.
And I still like Thor 2 because it's a fun movie. It's not a particularly, like, great MCU movie, but it's fun. It's perfectly, like, fine.
Yeah.
But as far as villains, it has one of the worst villains because he's literally on screen for, like, what feels like 8 minutes.
If that long.
Like, I don't know. I love everything they have going for Thor 3, though. I like how we're actually finally getting more of Ruffalo's Hulk outside of the Avenger movies. I think that's really important.
Yes, and pairing him up with Thor is really smart.
I think you were going to get some crazy Planet Hulk shit going on when they start getting to some of what I have stayed away from, like, the straight up plot descriptions, but what I'm gathering from everything is it's going to be kind of like a little bit of Planet Hulk, where they were doing a lot of like Gladiator arena type of stuff. And I think we're going to get some crazy shit with the Hulk when it comes to the Gladiator stuff.
Was it the Comic-Con either where or after they had announced Ruffalo's Hulk was going to be in Thor 3 that we saw the armor and the weapons for the Hulk?
Yeah,
I remember them being in like a glass case.
Yeah, because they even straight up had like the Planet Hulk helmet with it and that big like hammer mace type thing that looked really cool. You need to actually watch the animated Marvel Planet Hulk movie, which I think I might actually own. If I do, I need to let you borrow it.
I think it's on Netflix still.
If it is, you should definitely watch it because it is, to me, it's up there with Doctor Strange. It's one of the best animated Marvel movies they've done.
I think Doctor Strange is up there too on Netflix still.
On Netflix, yeah. They're like, because those animated Marvel movies, the good ones are like kind of diamond in the rough, but it's one of the better ones. It's worth watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. Oh, they had an image of Loki, but it was literally just Loki being Loki. So I didn't. I mean, there's really nothing to say. Tom Hiddleston's awesome. He's going to be awesome. I'm just curious to see what all they do with Thor 3. Anything else you wanted to
add? No, not really. Like you, I'm trying to stay away from it mostly because Age of Ultron was like a 2-hour movie trailer for all their future movies. And they did some really good setup for Thor 3, and I just want to kind of leave it at that.
I agree.
I'm probably not even going to, unless there's something that we talk about on this podcast, I'm probably not even going to actively seek out images anymore.
I'm going to watch their very first teaser trailer, and then I'm not going to watch any more on it. I think.
Yeah.
I'm basically going to what I did with Logan is what I'm going to do with everything now. I'm going to give them one trailer, preferably one teaser, and then I'm done. I'm going to specifically
Batman vs. Superman, that's all it took was one trailer.
Well, was that their?
It was like their second trailer.
Yeah. It depends on if you count Snyder's Comic-Con one, because his was perfectly fine, didn't really spoil anything. But as soon as the marketing department got a hold of that movie, good God.
They summed up the movie, all you needed to know in 2 minutes.
Maybe they wait. M. Night Shyamalan plot twist. Okay, bear with me. The marketing department was the good guy all along because they were trying to get us to stay away, and we just didn't listen. We didn't listen.
We didn't listen.
All right.
I crashed the boat.
BVS is an example of what you should not do with trailers, or maybe you should. I don't know.
Terminator Genesis is what you don't do.
Exactly. One that you should follow in on is the goddamn Deadpool 2 trailer. Did you watch this?
I watched it.
This is one of the best trailers I think I've ever seen. I fucking adore this trailer. Now, there's a little bit of context too with this. Is the cat's out of the bag now? But the way this, first of all, I want to talk about the way this trailer was attached with Logan, because it was fucking genius. When you're watching Logan, and I'm pretty sure it's the same way everywhere because the way it was attached with it, usually these movies are attached as a trailer, right? Like you get your own green band or red band, whatever movie you're watching, you get the trailer, you get your little Cinemark or AMC kind of like blurb, and then you get your movie, right?
Right.
Well, in Logan, it goes through all of the trailers, and then the lights go down after the Cinemark blah, 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 whatever bullshit with their singing nonsense, because fuck you, Cinemark. You and I can both say that. But the lights cut out, and you think Logan has started because it just is. It follows the very beginning of this teaser trailer where it's just a guy walking with a hoodie. You have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And those genius motherfuckers built Deadpool 2's trailer within Logan to where it didn't have to abide by any regulations as far as trailers, as far as like green bands or anything like that. You were fooled into thinking you were watching fucking Logan when you weren't watching Logan. Like, it was just a masterstroke that
I want to know who came up with that and how they made it happen.
And how they kept it a secret. Like,
yeah.
A Deadpool 2 3.5-minute trailer. This is a long trailer. We're going to get into all
for a reason.
And they kept it under wraps. No one knew about it until Logan came out, and I was specifically trying to not tell you because I considered its existence a spoiler because of how awesomely put together it was. That was that good. I considered the existence of a trailer to be a spoiler. It was that fucking genius. Like,
yeah. If you haven't seen it, you have to check it out.
Oh my god, it's so good. I don't even know where to begin.
It's so very Deadpool.
Oh, it's so good. Like, first of all, I want to know how much they had to pay to get Superman's theme in a Marvel trailer. That could not have come cheap. I don't even know how much I want to talk about because if you haven't seen, first of all, if you haven't seen it, cut ahead like 2 minutes, or pause it and go watch it and come back because it's all based around Superman changing into his outfit really quickly in the phone booth, but they do it in real time with Deadpool. While they're playing the entirety of John Williams' Superman theme for like 3.5 minutes as he's getting dressed, trying to save a guy who ends up getting fucking shot.
Dude, the moment that you hear the gunshot and you see him just stand up, and then he like looks back.
And then like the part that made the most people laugh in the theater I was watching when I saw Logan opening night was when it wasn't the first time that he's half naked and his ass crack gets pushed up against the telephone booth. It's like how it just lingers there for like 30 seconds. Because people are just like, what the fuck is happening? Oh my god, it's so fucking good. And yeah, and then they wrap up the trailer where he goes over. He's just like, "Oh man, you're not gonna walk that off."
And then he just lays down on the guy like it's a pillow.
And then he's just like, "Oh, what is it, Cherry Garcia?"
Yeah.
"Oh, are you gonna finish that? Don't answer that." It is to me one of the best trailers I've ever seen. Like I was so blown away by it. And then they in the trailer on this like fine print recap of something? Is that in this trailer as well, or was that just in the Logan version? They have like a wall scroll of words.
At the end, a really long fine
Yeah,
print.
I want to read that because I'm curious, but I don't know if I found it yet online. I need to go seek that out after we finish recording because I want to know what the fuck that thing says because it's gonna have some good shit in it.
It scrolled forever.
Yeah. Oh my god, I want that movie so bad. And they get that fucking trailer ready for Deadpool. They don't even have all of their cast yet. We still don't even have a Cable. And they managed to get that trailer done and kept secret. Like
I hope the rumors are true about Cable, but
yeah, that trailer got an ovation from the Logan crowd that I watched the movie with, and it was fucking amazing. It was fucking astounding.
It's good because they need a new flagship because they're losing Wolverine.
Yeah, it is no coincidence that movie trailer was attached the way it was. It is, even though it's like the beginning of the movie and it's a trailer, it is kind of them kind of basically handing the torch over. Like the way that the MCU is setting up Tom Holland as Spidey as like the next flagship, that's Deadpool for Fox, and they're smart to do it.
It kind of sucks though that we couldn't get some kind of team up that involved Wolverine and Deadpool both as members of it. Because just to see Wolverine get tired of Deadpool's shit and stab him in the face or something, just because he knows he can do it. Like,
and then you have like just Deadpool like retort like, this is gonna hurt me a lot more than it hurts you. There's a lot of good shit you could have back and forth with them. But yeah, while we're talking about the Deadpool cast, again in true Deadpool fashion, like the casting is so fucking weird for this movie because it's like 1 week they're like, hey guys, we're gonna have Pierce Brosnan as Cable, but not really.
Yeah. And he's got to be involved somehow, though, I would think.
Now they are, through a tweet from Ryan Reynolds, which was also kind of like a half joke. It looks like they were. I'm reporting this as reportedly casting the main actress from Atlanta. Her name, I don't know how to pronounce. I'm probably going to butcher it. I'm going to try Zazie Beetz. I don't know. But they are reportedly saying she's going to be playing Domino. So, are you familiar with Domino at all?
A little bit.
Most of my exposure to her character actually comes from the Deadpool video game that you really need to play from like 2014, whatever year it was, or 2013.
That's Nolan North because video game.
Oh my god, he crushes it, dude. It's so good. The whole game is like fucking meta.
Yeah,
in the best way.
I'm somewhat familiar with Domino. I want to say they brought her in the X-Men cartoon I used to watch when they brought in Cable.
Probably.
But
I know a little bit about her, but typically,
that actress, dude, I was looking at her on IMDb. I don't even know what Atlanta, it's literally I don't know jack shit.
She literally just came onto the scene with Atlanta, which I watched about the first 3/4 of. That's the Donald Glover show. I couldn't really get into the show itself that much, but the performances were really good. She's a really good actress. I think she'll end up being really good. I think she's a good choice. I couldn't say specifically for Domino as far as how good of a match that is because I'm just not super familiar with Domino. But as an actress, I was pretty impressed with her on that show. So I think she has a shot to have a really, really good performance in it. And I think it's really cool too that they're going to end up going with Cable and Domino for Deadpool. Yeah. Those are both characters that I talked about in one of my articles this week. I think they need to get away from doing X-Men movies and just do an X-Force movie where they do like a Legends of Tomorrow type of thing. Throw the side characters that everyone likes together instead of feeling the need to just churn out Jean Grey and Cyclops and Storm over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I think Cable, Domino, Deadpool, these are the characters that should be going into an X-Force series of movies and move away from X-Men.
And not only have we seen a lot of those characters over and over and over again already, I feel like you have more freedom to do whatever you want with the side characters in any property. Because the side characters, like the main characters, there's an expectation from a lot of your audience for them to be a certain way. Side characters, you can usually change to your own vision or your own script and get not a whole lot of backlash because they're the side characters. People don't care about them as much as they would Wolverine.
They need to go the route of the Legends of Tomorrow or like a Firefly, more
Yes.
so than they need to continue churning out X-Men movies, which I hope they realize. What it's the box office success of Deadpool really helps that out, and then Logan was very successful as well. Are you alive?
Yep. Oh, man. Okay.
The 92nd and final episode of There Will Be X with this.
Yep. Hold on.
We
Let me just get more of this life-giving water.
we were so close to 100, but so far away.
I just needed to inhale at that exact moment.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. Mostly curious about the casting of Cable. Ron alluded to this earlier. They've kind of been talking about I'm blanking on his name, but the sheriff guy from Stranger Things is being Cable. That would be a good choice. I am not really reporting on that as far as one of our main news stories until it's official, because otherwise we'll be talking about it every week forever.
I was gonna say, just like the WBDC directors, every week there's a new Cable casting rumor. So
they're throwing
either they're actually going through that many people, or it's just being leaked and no one knows what the hell they're talking about.
Or they're just throwing names at an IMDb printout with a dartboard, with darts on a dartboard, basically.
That guy from Walk Amongst the Tombstones and Stranger Things,
he's awesome. He would be great.
He's an awesome actor.
Stephen Lang is the ultimate Cable, but I would be very happy with that guy from Stranger Things as Cable as well.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about Alien, because
speaking of,
shit,
I agree.
holy shit, Alien. Alien Covenant looks so good.
I want that movie last year.
All right. Ridley Scott had a little bit to say about upcoming potential Alien movies. Would you like to say his quote?
If you really want a franchise, I can keep cranking it out for another 6. I'm not going to close it down again. No way.
Okay. First of all, Ridley Scott's fucking awesome.
I fucking love Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott
I've said it before and I'll say it again. One of the few legendary directors out there that still has not lost his goddamn mind.
And is still somehow underrated.
Yes.
Like, he's still kind of underrated in a way that's very odd. Like, he, to me, maintained quality longer than Spielberg, but Spielberg is still kind of a bigger name than he is just because of some of the type of films that he did, but I think Ridley Scott stayed great longer.
Ridley Scott, I don't really quite know how to say this. He picks more off films, and Spielberg picks more like obvious, this is going to be a box office hit.
Family-centric as far as Ridley Scott goes for stuff like Alien, that is very off the wall.
Like Alien and I believe Blade Runner and like The Martian and all the movies that he does have like a very artistic quality to them without being artsy films.
And what's kind of
everything
cool
he does is just a bit off of the famous directors you think of.
And I think one of the reasons why I regard him higher than Spielberg is if you watch all of now, I'm not saying that is a bad thing. Obviously, right. I adore most of Spielberg's resume. But
no disrespect to Spielberg.
Absolutely, no disrespect, but you can kind of feel that you're watching a Spielberg movie because he has a distinct flavor that maintains throughout most of his movies. Now, there are obviously exceptions to the norm, but with Ridley Scott, he's so versatile. You never really feel like you're watching a Ridley Scott movie because he doesn't necessarily have a distinct,
I think he does. It's just not in the way Spielberg's is. Spielberg's had the same kind of feel, but Ridley Scott, you can usually look at it and tell. And what I mean by that is he favors these wide, far out shots, like landscape shots and these wide shots. You see it a lot in The Martian.
Yeah.
In Alien, there's always these wide shots of what's happening in space. Blade Runner, you get a lot of the city, or you'll get a lot of the city with your main character kind of in the background. You get a lot of these wide angle shots.
I agree with you. He has some
He has a signature.
He has a signature cinematic filming style, but I'm talking about tone. I think
Spielberg is definitely in his tone.
Like Spielberg movie,
and there's nothing wrong with that, but they definitely have a very similar tone.
Yeah, with Ridley Scott's movies, like you look at The Martian compared to Alien.
Yeah,
I wouldn't expect.
No, I
those
get
to
what
be,
you're saying. They're definitely completely different movies from there to there.
tonally.
But you
Spiel-
can, while they feel different, you can usually look at it and tell you still have a Ridley Scott.
he has a visual signature, while Spielberg has a tonal
tonal.
signature, which is
Yeah,
a good.
I completely
Yeah.
agree with that.
I agree with you too on how, on like the stylistic choices that he makes sometimes. But yeah, Ridley Scott, you can make as many movies about whatever you want, and I will watch all of them because I
will
fucking
watch
love you.
all of them.
I will watch
and
all of them.
especially if Alien is in the title, even if it's not related. I am watching anything with Alien in the title.
And I just like too how he's fucking almost 80, and he's just like, fuck you, I'll make 6 more. I'll make.
I was gonna say,
he's
I like how the article blatantly says the famed director, 79, told Sydney Morning Herald.
He's basically like, he's basically like, if you paraphrase what he's saying, he's like, fuck you, I'll make as many goddamn Alien movies as I couldn't goddamn well want to.
Well, also he's got some weight to throw around on that, so it might actually happen. Because remember, Alien Covenant came about because he was like, I want to make a sequel to Prometheus. And they were like, no, that movie bombed critically and a little bit at box office. And he's like, I don't care, I'm making it anyway. And they're like, okay. And that's how this movie came about to begin with.
And he's also like, he never stops working. He's always working on something.
Yeah.
He has like, he has crap in production as far as like, he's bought the rights to one of the books I'm currently reading, Wool, like a really, really like totally up his alley dystopian sci-fi novel series that like they didn't even started yet, but he's bought the rights to. It's crazy.
He's already proven he can do dystopian future.
Yeah. One of his best.
Also, did you read that there's already a sequel to Alien Covenant written and ready to go?
Oh yeah, I think they might have even had I think they had at least one and potentially more written.
He said that he doesn't want a 2-year gap. He's ready to crank them out annually.
I'm cool with it. I will watch all of them.
Like poor Neil Blomkamp, because they will put him off for 6 years if need be.
Oh yeah, yeah. By the time Neil Blomkamp actually gets around to doing Alien 5, it'll technically be Alien 15. That's like what'll happen. And I love Neil Blomkamp, but give me Ridley Scott's. Like I love me. Like,
again, no disrespect, but Ridley Scott is just, he may be my favorite director.
He's so close. Like I can't.
And he's cool. He's a cool person too. If you ever see him talking, it's clear that he loves what he does.
He's probably my favorite one too. Like I'm having a hard time. Like you know, Spielberg is up there too, just because of how much I love Indiana Jones and Jaws and
Jurassic Park.
And you can like just go down like over and over and over. But stylistically and artistically, Ridley Scott is so impressive to me.
Yeah.
To this day, it's still like, it's insane.
Just to get up on stage, winning an award for The Martian, and go, comedy? That was the first thing he said in his speech.
I'm still scratching my head over how fucking stupid that was.
And then when he was reading that same speech, it started with comedy, and it ended when they were trying to push him off stage, and he's like, no, I'm not done, thank you. And he just kept reading.
Ridley Scott gives 0 fucks, and I love him for it.
Oh,
I forgot to start a timer. Would you mind giving me a time check real quick, Ron?
23.
23. Okay, we're going to burn through these when necessary. So while we're speaking of Alien, I want to talk about a little Predator, Ron, because you and I, we're kind of, that Predator guy's okay. He said some cool stuff. He's a pretty cool dude.
Oh my God, I want this movie so bad also.
So Shane Black has just been showing off, like, how fucking awesome I think this movie is going to be on Twitter. Like, he's like, check out this awesome movie I'm making, guys. It's going to be awesome. And I agree with him.
Yes. There was an article on, I believe it was Collider, that said, like, I don't know, it was something like top 5 movies coming out next year or something like that. And the image that they chose to head the article with was Predator. Like, it was, and there was an article somewhere else that said, we need these movies now, and it was an image of Predator. Like, everyone is looking forward to this fucking movie, dude.
Especially, like, I like Shane Black now even more than ever because of The Nice Guys. The Nice Guys was my second favorite movie in my top 5 last year. Like,
Dude
can do no wrong right now. As far
I
as
want
I'm
Ryan
concerned.
Gosling in a Predator movie.
His nice guy's character the entire time, just screaming the entire time.
Jesus!
Jesus, he's invisible. Jesus. But
where's his skull? Jesus.
In my head canon, for all future Predator movies, one of the trophy skulls is Holland March from the Nice Guys.
I want to see Russell Crowe just deck a Predator in the face.
I want the new cast of the actual cast of the Predator, while in the background it's just Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling running away from Predator.
The sequel to this Predator movie better be goddamn Robert Downey Jr., Val Kilmer, Russell Crowe, and Ryan Gosling
just
versus Predator.
Yeah, just all of his buddy cop go-tos.
Yeah.
But his newest image from the set actually revealed a couple of one that we had reported about. Alfie Allen for Game of Thrones was added to the cast. We reported on that. Thomas Jane, however, was rumored until here. This picture confirmed it. He is.
And we have a no rumor policy on this show, so we didn't mention it.
Yep.
Just because Hollywood rumors change week to week.
It's almost impossible to make an entertainment show where we disregard rumors, because if you look at Nerdist and Collider and IGN and all of these websites that report shit like this, good God, it is 90% rumors, and it's so fucking frustrating to me.
We've been burned so many times on rumors, though.
But good God, the Predator cast is amazing. Like, I love Thomas Jane. Alfie Allen for Game of Thrones is great. Key? They have Boyd Holbrook from Narcos, and you're about to watch in Logan. He's great. Olivia Munn isn't in the picture, but she's in the movie. The kid from Room, who is one of the best, if not the best, current kid actors working right now. Like, it's crazy. And writing and directing is Shane fucking Black. Like, if this movie isn't at least an 8 out of 10, I will be surprised.
Dude, it's going to have... Like, here's the thing. Shane Black, you want to talk about action and intensity and comedy, look at the Lethal Weapon franchise. I mean, the guy knows how to do action, and he knows how to do a little bit of comedy. I'm not saying it's going to be a funny movie, but there's going to be funny one-liners. He knows how to do it subtly.
He knows how to balance out a script maybe better than anybody.
Yes. So for him to be taking on Predator, it's probably going to be dark, terrifying, and chock full of one-liners.
And his cast, I think, is just beautifully selected for that.
He couldn't have a better cast.
Thomas Jane can be funny, too, in certain roles. Like, have you ever seen the fake commercial he did? I forget what it was for. I need to show. I think it was for, like, drunk driving or something, but it's one of, like, the best parody commercials I've ever seen. I need to find it for you. But I cannot wait. I'm so excited that we finally have, like, both a super good Predator film that's supposedly in production, as well as it looks like a really cool Alien movie at the same time.
What a time to be alive, dude.
It's ridiculous.
Two of the three biggest franchises that are still alive 30 years later coming together this well.
One from Shane Black and one from Ridley Scott again. Like, that's crazy.
Damn, dude.
While we're talking about Alfie Allen, something else he's in production on, just a little show called Game of Thrones. I mean, it's kind of like a little indie boomer. I don't know if you've had a chance to check it out.
I don't know if you've heard of it or not.
We've only done like 5 bajillion podcasts over fucking Game of Thrones, but Game of Thrones is the only show right now that can shut down all of fucking Twitter and Facebook just releasing what day their season comes out on, and is exactly what happened today.
That trailer was pretty impressive, but do not watch it if you're not caught up.
Yeah, there is no visuals going on. It's just audio, but the audio spoils a lot.
The audio is enough.
But goddamn, that they have such good, like, the Khaleesi quotes.
If you
especially.
are caught up, for the love of God, watch it.
It's so good.
Because if you're caught up, it's all from the previous season's audio, and the graphics is a made-up graphic just for the trailer.
Yeah, it's like some of their sigils combining and shit like that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
They got one of my favorite quotes from Khaleesi, like the breaking the will line.
Yeah.
I want it now. Unfortunately, we do have to wait until July 16th, but it will be worth the fucking wait because
It's going to be worth it.
I'm so
Game
excited.
of Thrones does yet to ever disappoint.
I am so excited. Do you have anything else you wanted to add with it?
No, not really. There's not a lot to say other than July 16th and watch it.
And give it to me now.
Yes.
Say that one more time. Let's see. Next up, this is interesting because I have been wanting so bad to just tell Star Trek Discovery to go fuck off because I can get plenty of STDs for free. I don't need to. I don't need to pay CBS for one. And then they went and announced who. I broke Ron a little bit with that joke.
It's just so stupid. They know people abbreviate the Star Trek series down to the letters.
They've only been doing it, Ron, for almost 50 years. I don't know. And then they announced that Jason Isaacs, one of my favorite actors, will be playing the captain of Star Trek Discovery, and I almost kind of want to watch it, assuming the show ever actually happens, because I'm still not 100% convinced that is actually going to be a thing.
I don't believe it will be either, and to me, it seems a bit random to reach out to Jason Isaacs for this.
Well, it's not really when you think about like the context of Star Trek, because like think about it back then when they got Patrick Stewart. Mm-hmm. When Patrick Stewart in that time was a super well-respected British actor who had never really done. Like honestly, Patrick Stewart was more out of left field than he is because Jason Isaacs has done geek material before with like Harry Potter and stuff like that. So like they've shown in the past they will like when they like we talked about earlier in Game of Thrones in our podcast for that, talking about how like George R.R. Martin did a lot for female leads. Star Trek had a female captain in the 90s. That was kind of unparalleled at the time. They've shown a willingness with the captains to reach outside the box to where this wasn't really much of a surprise to me. In fact, I actually thought it was kind of smart because, you know, it intrigued me a little bit when I was kind of writing it off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I still say it can go fuck itself just because it's on CBS no access.
Just because of the format. Well, I'm not. Now, let's be clear. I'm saying I might watch this. Spoiler alert, I will not be watching it through CBS All Access. That is just something I will say. I have my ways. So, final thoughts? You just kind of fuck it, whatever?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I've got that show. They've been teasing that show so much, but yet I'm pretty sure that's the first casting news we've ever heard.
Well, the actual, what's interesting too is like the lead of the show, they've actually for the first time, it's not going to be the captain. So Jason Isaacs is actually going to be more of a supporting character. The lead actress was actually Sasha from The Walking Dead. She's the main, she's like a lieutenant. So it's the first time they're making the lead not a captain. So I don't know. I will believe that show exists when it is actually out on CBS All Access. That is the only time I will believe that it's actually a thing, when it is accessible to all 6 people in the world who actually have CBS All Access.
Yeah. Have you ever heard Colbert plug it?
No. How does he talk about it?
He takes it seriously because he has to. You know, they're making him. But he talks about every once in a while, he brings up during his monologue that his show is available to watch on CBS All Access. But you can hear him die a little bit inside when he mentions it, just in his voice.
Internally, he's doing this, just like...
Pretty much. Especially since his whole show, even though it's spliced up into segments, is on YouTube. Like...
we could do an entire podcast, 30-minute fucking discussion over how stupid CBS All Access is to me. We could do an entire separate podcast that is just a weekly segment of me bitching about how stupid CBS All Access is.
Yeah.
Something I will actually be playing that Ron will not, because this is a mystery to me. I don't understand why this doesn't get your juices flowing in all the best ways. But
It
Shadow of
doesn't.
War, the sequel to Shadow of Mordor, which is another game, should be right up your fucking alley because it plays just like Assassin's Creed. Like you get what I'm saying. Like if you watch anything from Shadow of Mordor and you get to the stealth segments of Shadow of War that we're gonna talk about a little bit, but like it's fucking Assassin's Creed with a Lord of the Rings skin with more to do in the game. So is it just because you're just kind of done with Lord of the Rings? Is that part of it?
I don't really know what it is. I mean, part of it is the Lord of the Rings universe never really appealed to me much.
You're not really a big fantasy guy now that I'm thinking about it. Like you don't really like Harry Potter. You are kind of
Well,
casually
that's just
into
because Harry Potter's not interesting though.
you were in the process of being hunted down just for uttering those words by potheads because they will beg to differ, my friend.
I have a lot of technical issues with Harry Potter series though.
What name? I'm curious. Like, what's like one?
Most of the time when we would leave the theater after seeing them for the first time, I would have to have my wife fill me in because they were written solely for book readers.
I
And
can see that.
there's no continuity between the movies.
Towards the. It wasn't so much of a problem until they got to the last few. Towards the last few, I started getting confused as well because they weren't spoon feeding at all. It was like
And I think the sixth one, all of a sudden, there's just this broken fragment of a fucking mirror that came out of nowhere. And he keeps like talking to it and looking at a random person. And I was in the movie theater still watching the movie. I was like, who the fuck is that he's talking to?
I totally agree with you.
That's the biggest, most egregious example, I think. But
the thing is, though,
yeah,
I do feel for them because, like, how the serious fuck do you break down a 900-page Harry Potter book into a 2-hour movie? Like, that would be fucking difficult. Like,
I get that, and that wasn't technically my issue with them. It was still just there's no continuity between the movies. Like that Shard of Glass is unique only to that one movie. You know?
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
It was apparently introduced much earlier.
This became a Harry Potter thesis somehow. We're talking about fucking
I know.
But we need to have Harry Potter as a discussion point because I'm actually interested to talk about that for some reason, even though neither one of us are really big Harry Potter fans. I don't know. But the Shadow of War trailer, I really liked the first game. I didn't like it quite as much as everyone else seemed to because it was it was on a lot of top 10, top 5 of the year lists. I think even GameSpot had it. I think it said in one of the articles I was reading, like number 4 for the year. Like it was a pretty big deal. I really liked it. I mostly liked it because of the Nemesis system that everyone already knows about. What I thought was cool about it though is the way they've implemented it for the sequel, where it works for your own army as well. It's not just a Nemesis thing.
Really quick, it's another tangent, but
let's talk about Harry Potter again.
But Nemesis is I know how the Nemesis system works in the first one, but there is a voice that is credited just as Nemesis. So is it just like the one preset dialogues for anyone that becomes your Nemesis, or is there a character also called Nemesis?
No, the Nemesis system is purely just the name of just like the kind of the concept because there is no specific the thing about it is that it's so procedurally generated. Every character has their own war chiefs,
but there is still a voice in the credits to the game credited to Nemesis. And the reason I brought it up is I was IMDbing John DiMaggio, who voices Bender in Futurama and a lot of other stuff, and he's credited as the voice of Nemesis in Shadow of Mordor.
Well, they still do have them. It might be one guy, but he can do different voices. So I believe they are doing basically. Sometimes they have different dialogue. Because
I know how the Nemesis system works, so that confused me that they have one guy credited as Nemesis.
It's also like he's such a talented voice actor doing so many different voices. He could just be repeating the same lines over again.
Do any of the Nemesis tell you to bite their shiny metal ass?
I hope so for the second one. But yeah, it's really cool that they've kind of implemented it more. Like they have a really, really cool part in the trailer you probably didn't get to, but towards like halfway through the trailer, at the beginning you probably did see where it looks like you've killed the war chief.
Yes.
the war chief comes back because of one of their like special traits or whatever.
Spoilers, Geoff.
And the war chief comes after you, basically talking shit like, you couldn't kill me that easily. The way the nemesis system works, one of your orc allies at this stage in their demo had a backstory with that war chief villain. Your boy in your army pops up as a sniper and saves you because he had a backstory with the nemesis of the area. Like they have a whole lot of crazy shit going on that's very fascinating, that if it works as they're selling, is pretty fucking cool because no one else is doing it. Like no one else is even like the thing. And people have been begging because like you know this better than anyone, just because of some of like the game series that we've liked have been ripped off to no end. Like Arkham, everyone ripped off the Arkham system for fighting and shit like that.
Right.
Everyone ripped off Assassin's Creed for stealth and so forth and so forth. People have been begging the gaming industry to rip off the Nemesis system in some way, and no one else will do it except for them.
And they ripped off their own system.
And because like one really really good idea was that would have worked beautifully was, do you remember the Mad Max game? People really wanted a Nemesis system.
There's another podcast that you still listen to. I listened to it at the time. The dude on there was talking about how he wished the Mad Max game had it.
That is a brilliant idea because that would work. That would work so perfectly with the way the enemies of the Wasteland are set up. If they could rank like you could do a Fury Road type of thing where the War Boys could rank up and stuff like that. It is. They suggested it for like Batman as well. If like the Joker's thugs could rank up, and end up becoming like lower tier supervillains and stuff like that. Like it can apply to almost any other game series, and yet no one is fucking using it.
No one's using it.
Like what the fuck? Like they do so much ripping off. Something comes along that's worth ripping off, and they're not. It's really strange to me.
Maybe I wonder if it's a technical thing.
Maybe they can't. Maybe they, honest to God, can't figure out how, and they've tried. That's the only thing I can think of.
I was gonna say it's got to be a technical thing. Like it has to be more complex than we think it is.
But yeah, Shadow of War. Some of the I like some of his like ghost abilities. Like, did you get to the point in the trailer where he jumps off of a building and he uses his ghost time power to slow-mo snipe people with a bow as he's falling?
Yeah, it's right after the war chief.
Yeah, like they do. I think they do a lot of really creative stuff with Shadow of War. And honestly, one of the reasons I like that game series as much as I do is because they are trying new shit in an industry that never tries anything new. How many Halo games are we on now? How many Call of Duty games are we on right now? Even though this wasn't particularly like your type of game that got you interested in playing it, I think you should at least say it is pretty cool they are trying new stuff with their games.
I'll totally give them that because as far as like Call of Duty goes, Infinite Warfare completely describes that entire genre, not just that game series.
Battlefield does the same shit. Gears of War. I don't know how the shit Gears of War is still going. Gears of War 6 or whatever they're on now is the same fucking video game that 1 was. And I played the first like 2 or 3 of them. I fucking know. Why is it...
Although, I will give Call of Duty that I'm interested in their most recent Zombies one just because I want to play as Kevin Smith.
Right. It was pretty cool.
I just want to play as Kevin Smith and hang outside of like a gas station or a mall and smoke cigarettes instead of shooting zombies.
Right. Okay, Ron, could you give me a time
check? There
check?
better be a mall level with him.
There's going to be. If they don't, they're fucking dumb. Could you give me a time check real quick, my friend?
43.
Okay, we are going to do a little bit more on our discussion from last week, basically talking about our personal methods for reviewing movies, and we're going to put a little bit more of a focus on TV this week, just because I think it is important to note the distinction between the two. Because, like you talked about earlier off mic, I believe, like one of the most interesting things about television over the last couple of years is comparing our top 5 list from just 2 years ago to now, and how like overnight a TV show can go to shit.
It can completely change.
But before we talk about TV, was there anything like off the top of your head you want to talk about with movies that you feel like you either want to talk about more or we didn't get to last week?
No, I think we had a pretty good discussion last week. In fact, I think it evolved into a completely different discussion than either one of us anticipated, to be honest.
True.
But yeah,
I'm sure this will be the same.
We touched on TV here and there, but we were pretty broad when we spoke last time.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll end up talking about Harry Potter again because that seems to be today's theme. But okay, Ron, when you are ranking your top 5 TV shows for our yearly segment we do, what okay, like this was kind of a topic we had about with movies. What can end up being like the deciding factor if you have two that are really close together? Like,
I actually said that last week when I put Shield above Game of Thrones.
Okay, so we did talk a little bit more about TV than I thought we had.
Yeah, that was basically, even though I know Game of Thrones is technically a better show in just about every respect, the first thing that I run home to watch every week is still Shield. So I had to put it at number 1.
So it looks like, from what we gathered from last week, is your method of reviewing movies and TV shows are a little bit more similar as far as you reviewing across the spectrums than mine are, because I actually do look at them a little bit differently.
Do you?
My main thing that we go over all the time is how many episodes things are, because I think it is crucial.
It's pretty crucial.
I will take an 8-episode miniseries or a 10-episode Game of Thrones style season every day of the week. I think even 13 is pushing it nowadays. Because the reason 13 for mostly Netflix stuff, Netflix kind of made that a thing for the most part, it seems. Maybe a little bit of, because like Breaking Bad got to the point where they did mostly 13-episode seasons, so like a lot of the AMC shows, but I don't know if that dates back if AMC did it first or if Netflix did it first or if it was piggybacking maybe a blend. But I think most people have shown that 10 is the sweet spot for episodes.
I think the perfect example of why you should limit your episodes is Game of Thrones.
Because my whole thing...
And the earlier seasons of Breaking Bad.
My whole thing, especially when it comes to television, is tell your story as efficiently as possible and get out. Because I would rather wish that I had more than wish that I had less.
Yes.
And
a good example of that would be The Walking Dead.
We could do an entire separate podcast about how much The Walking Dead, which I'm still kind of watching. Like, I'm waiting for it to end and then just kind of binge it all. I basically have turned... It's interesting, too, is like the one show I'm actually up to date on right now is Legion. Legion is an 8-episode miniseries. Every show that I'm watching right now outside of Legends of Tomorrow and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., all the other shows that I'm watching, like Supergirl or what was the other? Supernatural. All of the shows that are the longer format, you know, especially like the CW still does a lot of 22-episode, 23-episode stuff. All of those, I am pretty much waiting to hit to Netflix 2 weeks after the season ends because CW has that new deal, you know, with Netflix.
Yeah.
All of those longer spanning ones, I have to wait to be able to binge them because I almost view it like pulling off a Band-Aid. That's how filler episodes have kind of gone to me because of how much I like condensed Game of Thrones style content now. It's spoiled me.
Yeah. It's really, I don't think you and I would have latched onto Into the Badlands as hardcore as we did if it weren't for it being, I can't remember if it's 6 or 8 episodes. I think you're right when you said 6.
Yeah, I went and looked it up on IMDb because I was curious about it. It was 6. I think the second season is going to be 8 though, or 10.
Yeah, which is smart because it's just when you give yourself less time, like you said, you do tend to not only tell your story and get out, but you tend to do it in a better way. The only show that I can think of, at least recently, that can pull off the longer format effectively has been S.H.I.E.L.D., which I see you're wearing the appropriate attire for. Because most shows are like I probably shouldn't use this as an example because I've only seen a handful of episodes of, but Burn Notice, say. The whole point is to figure out who the fuck burned him. And every week is like this one-off episode that at the end he gets another file folder handed to him by someone else, and that's it for the main overall plot. Not saying it's a bad show, but it's pretty representative of the way most shows handle it, where S.H.I.E.L.D. does a pretty good job of like half and half when they do that.
Like the filler doesn't always just straight up feel like
it's
filler.
Almost like if you pulled all the filler out, it would be 13 episodes instead of the 26 or whatever it is they do, because of the way that they intermix everything so well. Most of the time, though, like 10 like I would latch on to Daredevil a lot better if they cut out the 3 extra episodes, I think.
I especially noticed it. Like I'm such a sucker for origin stories and character specific stories like they did with Kingpin and stuff like that. The first season of Daredevil didn't really bother me. I would still prefer it be 10, but it didn't bother me. The second season of Daredevil bothered me.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones. I think the pacing on Jessica Jones of having to stretch it out to 13 episodes, I think it kind of killed the show.
Yeah.
For me, because if Jessica Jones is in a perfect world, say 8 episodes long, where they really get to just focus on the Purple Man, and they don't have to develop all of her bullshit fucking neighbors and asshole friends, it would make the show
Salty Geoff is salty.
Infinitely better. While I thought Luke Cage did a much better job than Jessica Jones did, and because like where I was going with Daredevil, I noticed it especially in Daredevil season 2, which was odd because they had more characters to work with, but I felt like their pacing wasn't as good because they didn't have like as good of like origin episodes and stuff like that, because I'm a sucker for origin stuff and backstories. Right. When it was just mostly plot focused, should have been 10. I think Jessica Jones should have been 8.
Yeah.
I think Luke Cage did a decent job with 13, but Luke Cage would have been an even better show if it had been 10, or maybe like even 12. Even cutting one episode out, I think would help.
Yeah.
But
Luke Cage though, man, when it was good, and I know this is getting off, but when it was good, it was fucking good. Yeah, episode number is definitely a big deal with me. Like I said, stuff like, if you can pull it off as well as S.H.I.E.L.D., the 26 episode seasons don't really bother me as much. Flash needs to cut it the fuck out. That's for damn sure.
No, the Flash is just done.
And
the longer format straight up killed Flash.
Legends of Tomorrow, the longer format doesn't bother me.
Legends of Tomorrow is smart, and Legends of Tomorrow, to be fair to the Flash, works and lends itself better to longer format because they can switch time periods, they can rotate out characters. This relates back a little bit to what we talked about earlier in the episode about like X-Force stuff instead of X-Men picking side characters.
Yeah.
They can kill off side characters too, which
it lends itself better because that show's potential is literally limitless, and they can rotate in and out all the characters they want. It's kind of like Doctor Who.
It's
they
closer
can
to
change
Doctor
the
Who
leads
than
as often as they want. They can go to the future. They can go to the past. They can do whatever they want with it, and they've managed to maintain a decent pacing with it, which helps it a lot. Because another thing that can help or hurt me is the pacing. And I think that's what got me on my Walking Dead ranking. Because The Walking Dead, I don't even know what the season number was now. The first 3 episodes of that season is one of the best zombie movies I've ever seen in my life.
Maybe the best.
Yes.
I believe that was season 6.
It was as crazy as a lot of their finales were. And it started out strong, and I even predicted at that point that the middle would probably slump, and then we'd go back to an awesome finale. No, the whole show fucking tanked from there on. It was very disappointing, and that's like the perfect example of a show that was literally my number 1, I believe, in that ranking. And it wasn't even on my list the following year.
If we had been doing this 1 year earlier for the podcast, the first season of The Flash would have been my #1 show of the year. Just my #1 favorite show of the year. And then cut ahead to 2 years later, I don't even watch it anymore.
Yeah.
It's just it's kind of heartbreaking to me. I watched the last couple of episodes just because they had the Gorilla Grodd stuff. It's just like I was texting you how much I fucking hate some of their plot points and how stupid their plot holes are in it.
I watched the first Gorilla Grodd one because Chris had it on, so I was kind of captive. I just wanted to leave the house. Not even leave the room.
Almost like
leave the house.
I don't know. I don't even know how to explain the feeling I get watching it, because it's almost like you're watching like a family member who has gone downhill. You know, like
yeah,
they're like down on their luck, and you almost feel bad for calling them out for their shit.
Oh, you know, and this is another thing that helps me rank shows is acting ability alone. Like Flash season 1. Don't get me wrong, most of their actors are pretty strong, but Tom Cavanaugh not only made season 1, apparently, he made me care about a fucking villain I had little to zero interest in to begin with. Reverse Flash. So he's evil Flash's doppelganger, basically. Okay, cool. Tom Cavanaugh elevated that character to such a level that, and they used him, you want to talk about pacing also, they used him in costume so sparingly, and when they did, it was fucking mind-blowing.
Yeah.
That, Flash might have been my favorite that year too. Just for that alone, even though it's the longer format and everything.
I think acting is
They did the Ring, Geoff. They did the fucking Ring.
Right. R.I.P. The Flash.
See, and that's another thing. The Flash season 1 would also go places that most TV shows, I feel like, and even movies would probably dare not go. They did the Ring. Reverse Flash had the fucking ring. His suit squirted out of a ring. And then the same moment, I'm still watching the preview for the first Gorilla Grodd episode. You're texting me, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, they're never actually going to do Grodd. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, never going to do Grodd. And you're like, because, I mean, it's a telepathic murder gorilla. I don't even think the TV show would ever go there. And I'm watching a telepathic murder gorilla murdering. And I'm like, yeah, they would never go there.
It's so weird, though, because they pulled out all of the stops and did whatever in season 1, and then they could not have played it any more safe after that.
Yeah.
Because all it ever was after that was regurgitating the exact same plot structure and the exact same type of Deus Ex Machinas to take care of
problems. They use Microsoft Words find and replace for the character names, and that is it.
Yeah, it is.
Same script.
It is brutal what happened, but yeah, this is kind of turned into too much of a Flash review. But I wanted to talk about really quick. I think the acting becomes even more important for a TV show, because I think it's a lot harder as an actor to, like, first of all, if you're an actor in a movie, you know, you have 2 hours of screen time for your character. Mm-hmm. You have a lot more opportunity to fuck up for a TV show, because you have to kind of like keep in your head, I'm trying to evolve this character while also not falling into your own tropes as an actor of just repeating yourself.
It's a double-edged sword, because you can make people love your character or make people hate your character. You can make people hate your character a whole lot easier.
Laurel on Arrow.
Oh.
It was just like nails on a chalkboard. And if you have an annoying character in a movie, you're stuck with them for what, like 2 hours, right?
Unless it's a Peter Jackson film.
Yeah, 3,000 hours at that percentage. But if you have an annoying character on a TV show and the writers don't realize they're annoying, you potentially have, what is that, like 20 hours worth of an annoying character? Like, it's very crucial.
It's late and we're both tired and we keep going off on tangents, I know. But Chris has been telling me about how, you know, they finally killed Laurel, and you still can't stop talking about Laurel and having fucking Laurel flashbacks in the current stuff.
Oh yeah,
Like they're still not rid of the character.
And somehow Arrow is still like at the moment like 10 times better than the Flash. That's where it's come at this stage.
Yeah. And what's annoying about that, you want to talk about acting ability and making people love and hate you? Laurel's another good example because when she came back, did she come back as Banshee or whoever she was as a villain?
Forget it wasn't Silver Banshee because that's a character in Supergirl.
Yeah.
But yeah, when she came back as a villain, I know what you're talking about.
Dude, she fucking sold it.
She's awesome. She was awesome.
Amazing.
It made total sense too because like the reason she got that role in the first place was because she was so good in Supernatural.
That's what I've always heard.
She was playing a villain. She is just one of those actresses or actors that's just better at playing a bad guy. There's nothing wrong with that. It wasn't her. It's not her fault that she got miscast. You know, she's also doesn't help when your dialogue shit. The best acting in the world, Gary Oldman, can't even fix awful god awful dialogue. You know.
Yeah. Acting ability is definitely more important. Like, this is weird to say because obviously you're watching the actors. The actors are what tie you into the show no matter what you're watching. So this is an odd one to say, but I feel like, especially if you have the longer format, like 26 episode seasons or whatever, if you have a character like Laurel, I am dying slowly watching your show because I cannot escape this fucking character, and it's just
it's
my
like I was
hell.
saying. It's like I was saying a few minutes ago. Like if you have a crappy character in a 2-hour movie, it's like ripping a Band-Aid off a hell of a lot quicker than it is over a 20-hour progress through a show season.
And then the reverse of that, the flip side of that, is say something in Game of Thrones where it's always until the last 2 seasons the 10-episode format, and you can't pick out a bad actor in the lot, and the season ends, and you're just like, it ended. I have to wait another year now to get this character or that character back.
Like when you're watching a movie or a TV show, and the time that went by feels like it was a blur, that means they've done their job really well.
Yes.
Like when Game of Thrones comes out and we have our 10 episodes, you know, that ends up being roughly like 9 hours if you chop off the ends where it's like, you know, each episode's like 48 minutes or 50 minutes or whatever. And you feel like you watched, instead of a 9-hour miniseries, you feel like you watched a 2.5-hour movie and you want more. That means they did a great job.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention too is I think it's interesting. Right now at the moment, for the most part, the more artistic-minded people are working in TV because if you notice in movies, they have to play it safer because it costs so much more money to make. And that is why in Hollywood, as far as the movie realm, the directors kind of rule the roost. Like, you know, you have your Ridley Scotts and your Spielbergs and stuff like that. But when you notice, if you watch and pay attention to TV, Kevin Smith talks about this all the time. You're there to watch and participate. The showrunners, the writers' room is the spearhead behind, like Benioff and Weiss. We know the name of Benioff and Weiss more so than we know the names of the directors of Game of Thrones because the writers' room dictates quality TV, while a lot of the time a director can salvage a movie. If the showrunners have fucked up a TV show, your show's fucked, just like The Flash. They're literally running in circles, repeating the same plot lines over and over again. That's not the actor's fault. That's not the director's fault. It goes back to the writer's room. You know, they can only do what's written.
And that's one of the reasons why we're in the golden age of TV right now. The writer's room, like you said, rules the roost on TV. That should be the case in any project, movie or TV. But instead, what we get is you have to put so much money up front to make a movie that the studios get way too involved in the writing and sometimes even in the directing. And it is you can change directors in a TV show and not even notice. But
and they
happens
do
episode
all the
to
time.
episode. You change, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but look at the shift in tone, even just disregarding the scripts, just the tone of the overall movie between like Alien and Aliens, switching from Ridley Scott to James Cameron. All of a sudden it changes from horror, sci-fi to straight up sci-fi or sci-fi action, and it feels a little bit like Terminator, here and there. And it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that, but just changing the director changed the overall feel, because that could still easily have been a horror movie, straight up horror movie, with the way it was, the script was. So, it's a shame, because shit like that is what gets you Batman versus Superman. And what's my prediction going to be a Justice League movie. But no,
yeah, I think Justice League will not be as much of a shit show, colossal fuck up as BVS, but it is not going to be this. It's not going to save their series.
It's not going to be what we wanted all these years. But yeah, dude, when it comes to TV, I still do have my personal feel, my personal enjoyment will always rank number one on what I consider. But like I said, I do still break it down to, like, what did I enjoy about it? Was it this, or this? What made it so that I enjoyed that part? And, a movie, it's cinematography, it's directing, writing comes in most of the time of the movie. It's not always writing, unfortunately. Writing does have a stronger point in TV these days. It's the golden age of television because of the writers' rooms. I think that the biggest overall thing, though, has got to be episode count. Because if you have to be balls to the wall, you are focused more in the writers' room.
Which, that should be, because, like, the thing, too, is, if you can come out, and while we in a perfect world would prefer S.H.I.E.L.D. to be this crazy, awesome 13-episode runtime or 10-episode runtime, if they can prove, or if Legends of Tomorrow can prove, or if Doctor Who can prove, we can kind of make it work with more episodes, do it. But you need to take into account and base your episode count on a conceptual basis. You have to be able to defend your reasoning for having more episodes. Like, The Flash cannot defend having as many episodes as it does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. Like I think Legion's is a really good example, because Legion, being a comic-based property, pulling crazy amounts of side characters out of the X-Men universe, which has a lot of interesting side characters to pull from, technically they could probably get away with, like a 16 or a 22 episode X-Men show on FX. But what did they do? They were like, fuck it, we're going to make an 8-episode balls to the wall show with Legion. Yeah. And it shows with the quality. One other thing that I was going to add too, for my personal views on ranking stuff, as far as like movies versus TV, I actually, like we talked last week about like quality versus favoritism, how usually quality will win out for me. Favoritism actually plays more of a role in movies because of how safe they have to be with the properties. I have more of an attachment to, say, Star Wars or Indiana Jones or The Predator in the movies side of things. When with TV, when we're talking stuff like Game of Thrones, which you and I have never read the books, talking about how Legends of Tomorrow is based in DC Comics. They're not using like Justice League characters that you and I are familiar with. Like all these, we have no emotional attachment for the most part in the TV projects we're ranking.
Yeah.
You've never read the Walking Dead comic. You were like, I think the quality is paramount in TV because most people, Breaking Bad, it was its own separate storyline. It was its own universe, It wasn't a property.
Yeah.
You can only judge it by quality. You can't have a personal stake in, I fucking love Indiana Jones, so I'm going to give this movie like more of a pass, there's only so much you can take away from it. So I think it's so impressive that for the most part TV has become the golden age based off stuff that is just people being damn good writers. It's not they don't have to rely on the backbone of a brand. They rely on a quality script.
And what I was just thinking about when you mentioned how movies have to kind of play it safe is they're kind of one and done. Whereas, say, a TV show, if they go out on a limb and try to do something different and it kind of backfires, they have time to correct it. If they can do it strategically through good writing, they can kind of take it back and correct it, because a lot of times they're still kind of filming the end of the season when the beginning of the season is running. Yeah. A movie, it's just already done, and you don't know how people are going to react to it until after it's out.
And sometimes, like infamously on the set of Avengers, Joss Whedon, if you watch the commentary, which I highly recommend. I am not a commentary person. I never watch them, but I highly recommend everyone go and watch the commentary for the Avengers, because Joss Whedon was doing script rewrites for almost every scene during filming. And when you think about all of the moving parts of that movie, and for it to work as coherently as it does with so much he had to juggle, it is like a mind-numbing, lightning in a bottle masterpiece that can never be done again.
I don't even know how he did that.
It's crazy.
That movie doesn't even really... That movie should not be as good as it is.
That movie shouldn't exist, period. And it
should
does,
be a disaster.
And it's amazing. It is just a masterstroke of genius that Joss Whedon apparently is still like recovering from, because it was such an ordeal. It's like, God bless him. It's like, I'm so sorry we like broke Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're over time. Was there anything else you off the top? What time are we at right now? I don't have a timer going.
Hour 11.
Hour 11. Okay, we're kind of at the point now. Anything else you can think of to kind of talk about before we sign off? I feel like we could honestly. This is such a broad topic. We could literally do this every week and probably find something else to talk about.
Yeah.
But I do think we had some good talking points as far as like some of the differences, because it is interesting. Because like really quickly, one thing I wanted to point out, we talked about how movies have to play it safer because of their budgets. It is the exact same problem the gaming industry finds itself in. The reason we have 25 Gears of War games and 35 Halo games and so many Call of Duty games and so forth, like there's a reason those games cost $60 to buy, because it is just astronomical how much money goes into making them. So it's almost impossible for them to justify making anything original when they have to make money.
It's pure business decisions, which, don't get me wrong, I understand they're there to make money. That's the whole reason any company exists. But no one is willing to take a risk anymore because of how much stuff costs, and partially due to the consumer, to be honest. If you look at any game review or movie review or opinion on social media about anything, you can't please anyone anymore, and they've stopped trying. And why would they, to be honest? Nerds and geeks especially are just the hardest fucking crowd to please.
And the thing too is, let's say this is a prime example, is Michael Bay's Transformer films. Those first 3 Transformer films, mainly the second and third one, was nothing but online backlash from the geek side of the population.
Which, thank God, I finally agreed with someone online.
But here's the thing: those people that are complaining all went to the theater and paid them to watch the movie.
Yeah.
It's if you here or go on Twitter and complain, as long as we paid them, they do not care about your Twitter review of Transformers 5. They only care if you went and paid them money to see it. If you already paid your money to see it, your voice is irrelevant because you already voiced your opinion with your dollars. Yeah. So you really have to vote with your money if you want anything to change. Because if you just keep going on and on, it's like, man, I fucking hate these Transformer movies. I'm going to go over opening weekend and watch all of them just to complain about them. Well, guess what? The reason they're continuing It's because you're going to watch them. You know, it's
Yeah.
this ultimate catch-22 with fandom. It's like, I don't think a lot of people understand that. It's like,
They
literally,
don't.
the only voice, even in the world of social media, for the most part, the only voice you have is your dollar that you're spending or not spending.
Have you ever read the press release Netflix had announcing Fuller House season 2?
I have not, but you have piqued my interests. I was not expecting Fuller House to be a discussion point.
Let me sum it up for you. We know the show was terrible, but because of the ratings it got, we know you're going to watch.
And it immediately got back for a second season, wasn't it?
And it immediately came back for a second season, and it was immediately a hit again, just like the first season was. If you read it, it's kind of in between the lines. Netflix was smart. They weren't blatant about it. But if you read it, they're basically just saying, yeah, you're going to watch, so what are you going to do? And they were right.
It's nice to see. It's almost like it becoming, such a great time to be a fan of television. Like, it almost kind of saved entertainment. Because if television right now was still in the state that it was in the 90s, where it was mostly dog shit,
well,
I don't know if we would be having this podcast right now, because we would have so much less to talk about.
What's interesting that neither one of us really brought up was movies and games. We talked about them playing it safe and not really doing anything outside of the box, and why would they, and all that. How many like NCIS and how many crime dramas and how many legal dramas have we gone through to get to this point?
It's weird. It's almost like,
how many different ways can you fucking kill someone and dump their body in a dumpster, Geoff?
I've been asking that. Like, they ended up having like 5 different CSIs before they all went away. There's still like 3 or 4 Law and Orders going.
I think the best commentary I've ever seen on the state of television in the era, in its defense, it was in the era, it was not wrong, was Futurama with All My Circuits. Dude, going back, as I just recently went through all of Futurama again over the last month or two, all 10 seasons, and watching it through the lens of like what TV was now and what TV is now and what we had then, All My Circuits like perfectly sums up what TV was until it evolved to what we have. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's nice to see stuff like Breaking Bad and Mad Men become commercially successful and popular enough where people feel like they can still have quality while also end up making money off of it, where it's not purely just a business standpoint.
We probably owe a lot more to Breaking Bad than we give it credit for the TV that we have now, because it kind of proved that, it started out with more limited episodes. It eventually went to, I think, like 13 and 15 episodes in a season, but it kept the same pacing throughout, and they didn't really have a bad episode. Like, everything they did was really creative, and they had you rooting for one of the worst like TV villains ever.
Yeah, they can just with the format in general.
Dude, the police was the villain. And he's a guy that you should not ever root for.
The whole point in the show is how far you're willing to go down the rabbit hole with Walter White before you realize, oh God, what I've been rooting for the wrong guy this entire time. It's like, we could do an entire discussion just off the brilliance of Breaking Bad. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but
we could write a book that just breaks down Breaking Bad.
Because the two best TV shows, in my opinion, assuming Game of Thrones doesn't fuck it up the whole, which I doubt it will, but if Game of Thrones maintains its quality as it is right now, the 2 best television shows I've ever seen are Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones, just because of how consistently good they are and how good in all aspects of just, cinema or television or just entertainment in general. As far as scripted,
you really got to strive to find a flaw in any Game of Thrones
you
episode.
have to really fucking nitpick.
I mean, unless it's just like a fucking rubber sword,
or you're complaining about like a difference in the books. If you just judge it as a television program, you have to like nitpicks. But those two, I think, are paramount in moving forward, because both were champions of the shorter time frame, which more shows started copying. And Game of Thrones is very important for female leads. That there's a whole lot of shows that are changing, and movies too, that are going to female leads that owe a lot to Game of Thrones for its just amount of great female characters. Breaking Bad is really important too. Also, The Sopranos, I think, is owed a lot of credit, because for The Sopranos, I've never watched The Sopranos, but I gotta gather from it is that you're also following the bad guys type of thing, which leads to Breaking Bad in a way. It's just Breaking Bad is more focused on that aspect of the show. Literally, it's called fucking Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
But I think they're both the best, and they might be the most important moving forward for what we've gotten as a result of it. But yeah, I can't. I mean, we can end up talking all night about this, but Geoff kind of wants to go to bed because Jeff's been up since like 7:30. I'm dying. But anything else you wanted to talk about for this week's edition?
The last thing I just wanted to add is, I really like the shift. Like, a lot of properties based on books and short stories have realized that maybe the movie format is not the format for them.
Totally agree.
And because, I mean, if you think about it, it's a written property to begin with. The strongest aspect of that written property being converted to live action should be the writer's room, right? It just makes sense.
Comic books in particular are an episodic style of format.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it lends itself so well to episodic, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Legends of Tomorrow, having an episodic type of format. And it's like, if you notice, the MCU works so well is because it all feels like episodes in a TV show, just like Mark Bernardin famously, points out. And I love his analysis of it because it's true. It feels like you're watching episodes that fit together into a big TV show, as opposed to like the X-Men movies. You have to have literally a dude on YouTube draw out the timeline on a fucking whiteboard to be able to figure out what the hell the timeline is of X-Men, and that is because the X-Men movies were a whole bunch of movies that they tried to fit together as a jigsaw puzzle, as opposed to a linear program of
I think
episodes.
The X-Men timeline is more convoluted at this point than the Legend of Zelda timeline.
Which is saying a lot, but yeah. I think it's absolutely accurate. Like Watchmen had no business being a movie. I like that movie.
I like the movie too.
But it's like it was really, really smart the way they did adapt it, and I don't know how they did it the way they did it, but it would have been so much better suited as an HBO miniseries.
There may come a day where Hulu or Netflix grabs it and does it again.
And once enough time has gone by, I think they will. Yeah,
because it was obscure, but it was one of the more popular and famous obscure comics, and the movie kind of shoved it into the front of everyone's mind.
The two most famous comics of the 1980s are The Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure those are the two marquee ones that got you more adult comics too. But yeah, if you'd like to check us out more, I think we're gonna call it a wrap on this one
before Geoff passes out.
Or I pass. Please like and subscribe. That gets you all of our content. In addition to the vodcast, we have podcasts over Game of Thrones. We have, I guess I should say, vodcast over Game of Thrones. Our tonight's watch and retrospective stuff. We're going back to the very beginning. We are currently in the middle of season 2, but all the way dating back to the pilot. If you have a little bit of Game of Thrones fever following today's news, check us out there. We have social media links for Facebook and Twitter below in the description. And please share us out if you know anyone else that might like our content. I'm Geoff.
I'm Ron.
I'm going to bed. Bye, guys.